The conflict between Israel and Hezbollah is escalating, with Israel carrying out a series of strikes in southern Lebanon. No injuries have been reported at this time. This comes after the Israeli military announced the death of 2 Israeli soldiers in northern Israel. They were reportedly hit by a drone and anti-tank missiles in Upper Galilee. In a statement, Hezbollah says its fighters targeted Israeli soldiers directly, killing and wounding several of them. Now, for Israeli reaction, we have Hamdah Salhut standing by in Amman. First, though, let's go to Ali Hashem in Tyre in southern Lebanon. Ali, beg your pardon, Ali, we're an hour removed from the leader of Hezbollah, Hassan Nasrallah, finishing his speech. I want to ask you first and foremost how the Lebanese feel right now.
Well, in general, trying to know what the Lebanese feel right now, the Lebanese are still in a status of uncertainty. They are in the middle of a war. They don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. They are witnessing Israeli warplanes striking several towns in the south, performing sonic booms above the capital, Beirut, and main cities, just like here in Tyre. So I'm not sure that there's any change in the mood. However, what Nasrallah tried to say today is that this is a long battle. This is a long conflict. And this conflict is not going to end with a couple of attacks inside Beirut, killing more than 30 people, injuring thousands of people. He tried to lay the foundation for a new narrative, which is the narrative of objectives. The objectives that whoever can achieve and reach is going to be victorious, and whoever is going to fail in getting to their objectives is going to fail. And this is what he said about this conflict. The Israelis want to get their residents back to the north. He is not going to allow that. The Israelis want Hezbollah to unlink the frontier in South Lebanon to the war in Gaza, and he is not going to do that, whatever the consequences are. Then he zoomed into his organization, saying that there is going to be a retaliation to what happened on Tuesday and Wednesday. However, the plan, the methods are going to be different. Moreover, that the decision about this retaliation is going to be within a very narrow circle inside the party, and this also gives an indication how Hezbollah is now dealing within its own structure, because, of course, there is a very big breach, there's a compromise, and they are investigating what has happened over the past months. So mainly, I think the Lebanese were watching, everyone was watching this speech. There were no clear answers regarding what's the day after going to look like, but there was a clear answer regarding a conflict that's going to be very long and won't end any soon.
Oh, that's really interesting. Something that we do see clearly right now on our screens is the aftermath of Israeli strikes in southern Lebanon. This happened just in the last few hours. Can you describe militarily what we've seen happen today in terms of the cross-border shelling and this, I was going to say low intensity, but it's not low intensity, this continuing war across the border between Israel and Lebanon?
Cyril, this is a real war. If you go to the towns of South Lebanon, there are destroyed neighborhoods. The towns on the borderline are destroyed, I can't say completely, but partially. However, today saw a kind of a pickup in the activities. In the past 48 hours, things were cooling down a bit. But today, Hezbollah resumed its attacks on Israel. More than 9 attacks today, at least, claimed by Hezbollah. We now know about 2 Israeli soldiers killed, several injured. Israel has been bombing almost every side here behind me. We saw several airstrikes today from the very south towards the depth of like 20 kilometers. Just like 20 minutes ago, there was an airstrike on Der Ames, which is also a town in my background. Before that, there were strikes on Der Qanoun, on close to also Qana. So yes, the activities, Israeli activities, are surging once again. Hezbollah's activities are surging once again. The Lebanese front is once again in a situation where there is intense exchange of fire.
And we see that on our screens right now, or at least the immediate aftermath of it. That's Al Jazeera's Ali Hashem reporting from southern Lebanon in Tyre. Thank you very much, Ali. Let's bring in Hamdah Salhut. Hamdah, you're live from the Jordanian capital, Amman, because the Israeli government has banned Al Jazeera from reporting within Israel. While Nasrallah was speaking, or perhaps just before, moments before, we learned that Israel has approved military plans for what they call the Northern Front. That means the border with Lebanon. What do you know?
Well, this is the next phase of the war that the Israeli security and defense establishment has been speaking about for the last couple of days. According to reports within Israeli media, the government's cabinet, that's Netanyahu's government, had authorized Benjamin Netanyahu, the country's prime minister, and Yoav Gallant, his defense minister, to be the sole deciders and decision makers of how they are going to move forward. So they are the ones that have made these plans, along with the Israeli Army Chief of Staff, Herzi Halevi. Let's just backtrack a little and go over what the defense minister has said in the last 24 hours, that the center of gravity is shifting. The Israeli Army Chief of Staff saying that Israel has a lot of capabilities they have not yet used, but they are ready and prepared to do so. So the new authorization of plans, we do have to note, though, has been said before by the Israelis. In fact, it's mentioned several times in the last few months, saying that they have new plans for offensive strategies, but that it wasn't necessarily a change from Israeli policy. But within the last week or so, the tides have certainly been shifting on how Israel is looking to deal with the problem on its northern border. But what exactly they plan to do next is still unclear.
I wonder if there's been a response in Israel, official or unofficial, to Nasrallah's speech, if there typically is a response to speeches made by Hezbollah's leader.
Well, rest assured that all of Israel was watching Nasrallah's speech, waiting to hear what's next with bated breath on both sides of that border. Previously, we have heard from the Israeli defense minister back in May addressing Nasrallah directly. He said that Hassan Nasrallah is dragging Lebanon into a new harsh reality for which there will be a heavy price to pay. But today specifically, there still hasn't been any Israeli reaction, government reaction that is on the record. But you can rest assured that they were watching closely to see if Hassan Nasrallah was going to be making any sort of larger declaration. Within the Israeli security and defense establishment, speeches like this are something that are very closely monitored so that Israel can also make its own calculations about what to do moving forward and then reassess their own plans, for which I might add, there haven't been any concrete plans by the Israeli for the situation on the northern border. But again, within the last week, Israel is turning a new page with how they want to deal with this. And it all started at the beginning of the week when Benjamin Netanyahu declared that there is a fourth goal of the war that was added. And it's not just pertaining to the war on Gaza, where all of those goals were previously. This one specifically to the northern border and returning those evacuated Israelis back to those towns and settlements, something that Nasrallah said Israel is going to have a very hard time doing.
Okay, Al Jazeera's Hamdah Salhut reporting from Amman, Jordan. Thank you very much for that, Hamdah.
Make sure to subscribe to our channel to get the latest news from Al Jazeera.